Welcome along to Knockhill for the fourth in our rounds of the Scottish Saloon and Sports Car Championship this weekend. Stuart White leading the Scottish Saloon and Sports from Gary Watson. Of course, the classics, a very close run thing between Robert Marshall, Andy Smith and Nick Boys. 4 races for you in prospect today around the 1.2 mile Knockhill circuit, and the multi-class Scottish Saloon and Sports Cars about to get us underway for their 9th and 10th rounds of the season. Of course, each year 14 rounds, 1 away round, which the cars have had already. Our racing very much focusing on the action here at Knockhill circuit. Pole position today goes to Stuart White with Gary Watson alongside. Stuart in the Ford Escort Cosworth and Gary Watson in the Westfield. On the second row, they'll be chased by Philip Duncan and Robert Drummond. Gary Waite making his debut. Alongside him is Alex Bruce. On the fourth row, Mario Cara and Clark Sutherland. Then it's Mark Dawson and Alex Dobby, Neil Robertson Dunbar and Stuart Haston on row 6. Then it's Norman Nicol and Paul Curtis, Tim Dodwell and Graham Waite completing our lineup here as we get ready to go racing. Cracking start by Stuart White and also as well by Gary Watson from the front row of the grid. Robert Drummond from row 2 looking pretty handy as well. Annex's third place. Car number 26 is Mario Cara, who gets away well ahead of Alex Bruce down to Scotsman corner for the first time. Got Alex Dobby in the Mallock Mark 20, the Clubman's car. So real eclectic mix of machinery we've got in this race. There is Philip Duncan in 42 running second in the Class A2 section of the championship. Everybody making it through pretty much safe and well. A couple of new cars for you to see this weekend. Neil Robertson Dunbar in the Ford Puma there, you can see going through just ahead of the Mallock, and a few Mazda MX5s running in their own class this year. Talk of the Mazdas having their own class or championship next year. Problems for Graham Waite in car number 19. Graham Waite's out of it. Oh, he's going to be disappointed with that one. Well, I've been watching Graham race for a long time. Remember him in the Hillman Imp in the Hot Rod days, racing over at the what's now known as the Raceball. Graham was racing there a long time before it was known as that at Cowan-Beath, but really Graham known as a circuit racer much more than being an oval boy. As we look at Mario Cara going through, but out front Stuart White it is that leads. He's won every single class race so far this year, Stuart White. If you look at the points chart, he's had maximums of 25, apart from round 5, which was the away round, where he picked up 45 extra points for going away, and dominating the overall scene and Class A1. As we look at Gary Waite getting it all sideways, a little bit of a tap there as he comes out of the hairpin. Across the line, look at the speed that these cars hack around here. These are pretty much the fastest cars that you're going to see around Knockhill circuit. The best lap in qualifying set by Stuart White, a 52.617 seconds. Oh, and Mario Cara getting it all sideways in the Evo, car number 26. That's the kind of thing the fans come to see, as long as he manages to collect it all up. Still racing hard with Gary Waite. Good performance from Gary in 59 in qualifying, his first appearance in the championship. 5th place on the grid in Class A1, third in class, 5th overall, to put that in the correct perspective. Alex Bruce, of course, championship regular, just behind him, 6th on the grid, and did well. Mario Cara into the hairpin, and we'll look up front at the race leaders getting away with things. Gary Watson and Stuart White, Philip Duncan, the race leaders at the moment. Tim Dodwell in the Scirocco gets past. You can see the difference in car speed and handling with the Scirocco going through, and whatever saloon you've got, you can probably come out and have a play with it here. A lot of the drivers in the championship have moved up from track days, and you can do track days here at Knockhill. So if you like the circuit enough to go around on your own, not in competition, you can, if your car's got a cage already, maybe talk to some of the people up here and get out on track in some of these cars. There's some pretty beefy machinery, but all classes are catered for, and of course pretty much all budgets. Stuart White though still out front at the moment, but Gary Watson keeping him honest. The Class A2 car, and if you want to know how to remember it, 2 for 2-wheel drive. Gary Watson, reigning champion, won it in 2010 as well. Stuart White second in the championship in 2008. Currently leads this one because Gary Watson dropped around round 2 to Philip Duncan in the blue Westfield. So I'm wondering if that's going to stay the way it is to the end of the season. But Stuart White at the moment, remember, it's not about overall wins. So Stuart White could get passed here by Gary Watson. But Stuart's actually got to be beaten in class at this event, or one of the last 2 of the season. We've got another meeting coming up in September, the final one in October. He's got to be beaten in his class. It hasn't looked like that's going to be the case. Alex Bruce, Gary Waite in A1, Graham Waite in Class A1 as well. Paul Bryden in the BMW M3 runs in Class A1. And Mario Kera as well in the Mitsubishi Evo that we saw. Up across the line they go. Fastest lap of the race so far. Stuart White, here he is, the race leader. What a splendid car that is, the 2-litre turbo Ford Escort Cosy. Well, leading spectacularly, dealing with the back markers pretty well too. He's going to come across the VW Corrado of Mark Dawson, and then Paul Curtis in the first of the Mazda. Stuart Aston still racing and beating him at the moment, and the lead car makes pretty short shrift of those, goes through. So too does Gary Watson. You've got to say the Westfield probably a little bit more nimble to deal with the back markers if it needs to be, and that may well play into the hands of Gary Watson in terms of a potential overall win. And what's happened here? Very quick flick of the cameras because Gary Watson has caught up with the race leader. He's right with him. Well, Graham Waite got going again in car number 19. He's away adrift, but some repairs having gone on down in the pit road, and that rather battle-scarred Ford Sierra Cosworth. It is out there and entertaining us, which is great. So well done, Graham and team, for getting it there. But Stuart White continues to get away at the moment from Gary Watson in second place. They've got more back marker traffic to deal with. So Stuart White looking for his 9th class victory of the year out of 9. Is he going to make it 10 in race number 2 as well? Really got the reliability on the car sorted out as Norman Nicol goes up in steam. He's out of the race in the 91 car, so that just leaves us with 2 of the Mazdas on circuit. Mazda's an ideal car to take part in this championship. As we said, nationally they've got huge numbers running under the auspices of the British Racing and Sports Car Club. So Stuart White down into Scotsman Corner again, seems to have fended off the challenge. We've got the oil flag out. I know it's not technically called the oil flag, but it's the best way to describe it. There might be some, I think they call it the reduced adhesion flag, and that may well play into the hands of the chaser here, because remember, it's the first car that's going to find the oil first. Through Clark Curve, around through Hislops they go. Gary Watson really putting the pressure on now, so back marker traffic looming again, and Gary Watson having a go around the outside. Let's see whether he can get a little bit more traction here. Stuart White will be aware. Watson chops back in on the inside line and is challenging big time for the lead. Stuart White gets across him. Wildly waved blue flag for the VW. So the Corrado gets the blue flag. Oh, sorry, beg your pardon, it was the Ford Puma, wasn't it, for Neil Robertson Dunbar. And now going a little bit wide at Scotsman Corner, and through into the lead goes Gary Watson. Watson takes the lead. Down into second place goes Stuart White. So Stuart White second overall. He's still in the class lead. Second in class at the moment, A1, is Alex Bruce. He is about 40 seconds down. So unless there's a mechanical problem for Stuart White, things still look relatively okay for him. Stuart White still leading A2, but Gary Watson may be on course for an overall win. He's really running well at the moment. Carries on passing the back markers. You can see blue flags going out to them. So into the closing stages, Watson's going to take another win in A2, and as I said, just that minor chink in his armour at the moment in terms of the championship points, because Philip Duncan took the win off of him in round 2, and aside from that he would have been tied on points with Stuart White. Well, on to the last lap here. Stuart White dropping away, still content to have that second position. And Gary Watson, it is the reigning champion. This is exactly the kind of thing he needs to do. Arguably in the tougher class A2. I'm taking nothing away from the drives we've seen from Stuart White this year. Paul Curtis in the Mazda past, and there it is. It's a win for Gary Watson. Stuart White will take second place. Here comes Stuart. But Gary Watson in car number 1, showing why he's the reigning champion. Stuart White second from Philip Duncan and Alex Bruce. Paul Bryden in 5th place and Robert Drummond 6th. 7th goes to Mark Dawson, who wins Class B1. Neil Robertson Dunbar wins Class C. Stuart Haston is next from Paul Curtis. Tim Dodwell completing the runners in 11th place.
Welcome to another episode of Racing No Filter. Joining me in sunny California, Bill Wood, and down in sunny Florida, Peter Keene.
We're going to take a look at some of the products HPD has created for the 2012 Honda Civic, and specifically we're going to show you how to install an adjustable sway bar.
Until then, folks out there, you take care.
Want to keep up with all the racing action at the track? Well, download the new GoRacingTV iPhone and Android app. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
The cars on the grid for round 10 of the Scottish Saloon and Sports Car Championship for 2012. And as you can see, it's Gary Watson on pole position, Stuart White alongside, the grid being determined by the result of race number 1, as is the norm here at Knott Hill Circuit. Some ramifications in terms of championship points for Gary Watson, and that concerns the number of starters in Class A2. We'll talk more about that as the race develops. As away they go, so Class A2 has just got 2 runners in it. Cracking start there, Robert Drummond from the BMW M3 of Paul Bryden, leading Alex Bruce as they go down into Scotsman for the first time. But it's the Ford Escort Cosworth of Stuart White that leads them away once again. Philip Duncan in 3rd place in the blue Westfield, 2 litre Westfield, it's as opposed to the 2.2 litre car that Gary Watson's driving. Well, a fantastic start by everybody, and through goes 26 Mario Kera, the Mitsubishi Evo non-finisher in race 1. Let's hope that he can have a little bit better luck here as Stuart White and Gary Watson renew their battle. Remember, running in separate classes, but giving the fans here up in Scotland a chance to see how evenly matched they are on different sections of the circuit. It's Gary Watson that took the overall win. Remember, he's the reigning champion. Here's Robert Drummond, 4th place at the moment. 79 in 5th is Paul Bryden. Down behind them, Mario Kera. Then I think we probably see Alex Bruce come into shot. Not going to see that as we go down through Scotsman. Alex Bruce is indeed still there. So it looks like everybody's made a good start. Graham Waite back out with us. Now a couple of non-starters here. Clark Sutherland in his BMW M3, a non-starter in Class B1, and Alex Dobby, as we mentioned, in the 1700cc Mallet Clubman's car, not starting. And the ramification there for Gary Watson is that for the second time this year there will only be 2 starters in his class, and that limits the number of points that he can score. It means he'll only get 12 points for a class win, assuming he wins the class. That was the in race 1 I told you that Philip Duncan had taken points away from him, and obviously he's trying to battle Stuart White in Class A1 for the overall championship. But that's the other thing that's hit him his lack of starters in class means you only get 12 points for a class start. And the irony is that I think A2 has generally been the stronger class. I mean, if you look at the drivers that have raced in A2, Gary Watson and Philip Duncan first and second. Cameron Purdy not here this weekend, he races normally in A2. Andrew Morrison in the Seat, another good strong driver, he's fourth in class, he's not here this weekend. You got Stuart Walker, we saw in round 7 and 8, he's not here. David Heaton as well. So on paper, although A2 is normally the stronger class, they're really being hit this weekend by a lack of entries as Mario Kera heads the Paul Bryden BMW, and they're both going into the pit lane, so that is a problem for the two cars. So Kera into pit road with Paul Bryden and joining Clark Sutherland and Alex Dobby in the paddock, which leaves us with 13 cars on circuit, and at the moment it's still Stuart White in the Escort that leads. Tim Dodwell in the Scirocco, currently heading Norman Nicol in the Mazda MX5. Norman moves out of the way pretty well. Dodwell, seen him race a few times down south, the 1800cc Class B1 car, and he'll pick up 12 points for a class win if he can get it home to the finish. The traffic as well, I did think really in race number 1 that traffic might have played into his hands a bit, but he did have the outright pace to come through and take the lead, although it was Stuart White that got the fastest lap of the race in race number 1, a 52.558. And up the hill they go, grabbing the line is Stuart White, who hangs on to it. Philip Duncan still there in the Westfield in 3rd place, but look at Gary Watson, he's all over the back of the Escort Cosy, looks to the outside line, switches to the inside, outside attacking line as they go to Scotsman, attacking because he'll carry more momentum, and this is what he's looking for, through on the inside and into the lead, past Stuart White, who's now down into 2nd position. Westfield passes Escort Cosworth, 2-wheel drive car, past 4-wheel drive machine here at Knock Hill. Well, one thing I love about this championship is the diversity of machinery. We've got the one-make championships, of course, here. Effectively, the Legends are one-make championship, the Minis, the XR2s and Scottish Fiestas. And wonderful to see the mix and match of machinery, which if you get drivers of different calibre, cars of different calibre as well, and classes can all come together on circuit and race each other. And that was a tidy little battle between Stuart White and Gary Watson. Now is Philip Duncan catching up, and has Stuart White got a bit of a problem, and more importantly, can Stuart White hang on to the class lead? If he falls back into the clutches of any other drivers, he's going to be keeping a keen eye on the likes of Robert Drummond, car number 29, as we look at the battle of the weights. Graham and Gary, GW obviously on the back of the car, telling us that is Graham Waite, the older of the pair, but great to see another generation out on circuit. Gary Waite proving to be chip off the old block, down into Duffer's Tip he goes, trying to hunt down Alex Bruce at the moment. Bruce running 3rd in Class A1, so some healthy championship points in the offing for him. A1 still led by Stuart White at the moment. All the A1 cars, aside from Paul Bryden, who's gone out, 2-litre turbos. So Alex Bruce goes out of shot, and then we go back to Gary Waite, just about to nip past the leading Mazda. 3 of the Mazdas here. Might slot in quite well, Mazda Championship. There is Stuart Haston, who gets it all a little bit sideways. Of course, rear-wheel drive configuration of those cars make them pretty spectacular to drive, and it'll be a cost-effective little championship to get going up here. The National Mazdas were here as well a couple of weeks back. So Gary Waite continues on his way in car number 59 after having a non-finish, completed 6 laps of race number 1. Gary's best lap time of 57.224, and he's about on the same pace here again. So Philip Duncan closing in now, so scrap for 2nd place. Philip Duncan in the 2-litre Westfield, challenging down the 2-litre turbo Ford Escort Cosworth. Looks to me like Stuart White, perhaps not the happiest man on track. If he can bag a class win, he'll be okay about it. But they go down into Scotsman Corner, and this is where we saw Gary Watson take the overall lead, and Philip Duncan wants to try and follow him through. Duncan's lap times in this race, best time of 54.3. Gary Watson with the bigger engine, 52.9. Coming up on back marker traffic, Norman Nicol is going to be the first one to be passed, and then Mark Dawson in the Volkswagen Corrado. VW running in 8th place at the moment on circuit, and the leader of the two Class B1 cars, and nearly a lap to the good ahead of the slightly older Scirocco, which gets passed now by the second and third place cars in the race. And Philip Duncan now trying to power his way up the inside, climbs up the hill, he's got through. Duncan's through, punches the air with delight, or was he making some other gesture to Stuart White? Not sure, we'll try and find out in the interviews for you post-race. Stuart White's definitely got a problem. Slips back behind Mark Dawson's Corrado. He'll try and lap him again. It's still potentially a class win for the third place man Stuart White, but it's Gary Watson out front, building up a huge lead over Philip Duncan in second. Remember, Duncan class winner back in round 2 in April, second position for him at several other rounds, including our first race today. He'll only pick up 10 points today by virtue of the lack of starters in class. So although he's got second in class, he's actually going to be the last runner, which isn't too good. But when there are more cars, he's certainly very, very rarely last. There's a couple of the Mazdas in close proximity on circuit, probably not generating the closeness that we might have expected from those three cars. And Stuart Haston, the class of the field there, running about 0.4 of a second per lap quicker. So Mark Dawson in the Corrado proving a difficult car to lap here for the third place man, and the leader of Class A1 Stuart White. Robert Drummond running second in A1 from Alex Bruce, with the weights dicing down behind them. Graham and Gary still hard at it. Try and pick up on them before the end of the race to see who's winning the family battle. So Stuart White finds a little bit more grunt in the SWR 70 car, goes through, but Philip Duncan's away down the road now in second place. So Stuart White, who qualified on pole today with a time of 52.617, to transcribe that to the race, his best lap time so far, a 53.291. So he hasn't really carried that form through. A 52.5 in race 1 was his best lap time. Up across the line again. Now we're talking about Graham and Gary Waite. There is Graham about to be passed or approached by the race leader Gary Watson. So Gary Watson closing in. Now where is Gary Waite in the equation? Let's have a look and see if we can spot Gary in the distance. Puff of smoke out of Graham's car as he comes out of the hairpin. And they'll go up across the line, and it's the checkered flag for Gary Watson, who does it again. Gary Watson picks up the win. He's going to maintain second position overall in the championship, but the Class A2 lead. Graham Waite just shy of being lapped by the race winner. Here comes Philip Duncan in second place, 14 seconds down, but takes second overall. Across the line goes the Ford Puma, a couple of laps down. Neil Robertson Dunbar winning Class C, but Gary Watson again, he leads Class A2 as we go into the penultimate round, or the penultimate event of the championship in September. Here's the result. Gary Watson the winner and fastest lap for him. Philip Duncan second. Stuart White third from Robert Drummond. Alex Bruce in 5th place. Graham Waite did get the better of Gary, who takes 7th. Then Mark Dawson, Neil Robertson Dunbar from Stuart Haston, Paul Curtis in 11th, and Tim Dodwell 12th. 13th place goes to Norman Nicol.
Well, there we go, folks. That's all we have time for from Knock Hill Racing Circuit. Please join us next time for a lot more exciting action.